Good evening, everybody, and welcome to MindMatters Masterclass. Our masterclass speaker is Judy Liu. She's a personal growth coach. She was originally trained in law. She's a lawyer, but then she switched over because of her psychological background. She's a certified ICF coach, an NLP neuro-linguistic practitioner, master practitioner. She's an artist and a singer. She's all things, okay? So I just want to ask us to warmly welcome our guest speaker, Judy Liu. Over to you, Judy.
Thank you. Thank you. And I wanted to give a real applause also to everyone that is joining this call. I think for anyone who is taking their late evening to spend on self-development, either for ourselves or for other people, that is phenomenal in itself. Before I share the slides and jump into timeline therapy, I thought I'd share with you a little bit about myself. I spent 10 years in corporate. I'm an organizational psychologist, and everyone in my organization said, Judy, you are so damn weird. 2 years ago, I gave away 90% of everything I owned. I had people come over and I said, anything that you see you like, you take. I remember throwing out my most prized possessions. I remember the hardest part was looking at baby photos of me and saying, I'm going to throw that away. Why I did it, there's a long story. It's also mental health related, but why I wanted to share that with you is because I have a deep, deep, deep passion in humanity and our capability to live a life that is extraordinary and to live beyond the confines or the realms of what life thinks that we should be. And I lived out of a suitcase. I was the head of learning and development at a multinational called Hayes, and I was running a massive regional team, all while living 10 days at a time from country to country. So what I have learned along my journey in psychology is put down to one sentence: expansive, and how expansive we truly are when we want to believe that ourselves. So I want to keep that as a frame of reference as we look into timeline therapy. And I'll start sharing my screen. So timeline therapy, this is one of my favorite techniques that I use when I coach my clients. And it is also one of the most powerful techniques that I have found for myself in my own self-growth. And the reason for that is we have so much more power to heal ourselves than we lead ourselves to believe. And we spend our lives trying to seek validation or advice from people around us. And we put that all on a pedestal before prioritizing the words that we have for ourselves. And timeline therapy is a way in which we can open up a line of communication with our subconscious mind to be able to learn the messages that our heart and our soul and our spirit wants to share with ourselves. You'll see on the bottom right, there's a circle with a mysterious looking figure. I'm curious if anyone is able to identify who that person is. Dr. Strange. Okay, that was way too easy. All right. My next question then is, what does Dr. Strange have to do with timeline therapy? He controls time. He travels through time. Yep, he's got that. And then he can jump through the circle and go into a different timeline. Yeah, he's a time traveler. That's right. That's right. And I don't know if you remember, but in one of, I think it was I forgot which Marvel movie it was, but they spoke of how even though he traveled through time and he lived through so many timelines with that same girl that he was trying to marry, he still hadn't learned his lesson. And I wanted that also to be a frame of this, being when we travel through our timeline, we can learn a lot of things. But the true difference is whether we pick up on that learning, whether we absorb that learning, and we action that learning. All right. And when it comes to, Chinese New Year, a lot of people like to go to Bazi or to get their feng shui tested. But the biggest thing that they always say is the decisions that you make after you know the things that you know. So I want to first share with you what my tagline is when it comes to not just timeline therapy, but everything. I say, I help people live courageously as their weird and wonderful selves. I run an organization called The Outlier Mind, and it is about having people experience what it means to be the messy, the unruly, the unregulated versions of ourselves, full of different parts and pieces, and to say, hey, this is me, and that is okay. And if it's perfectly fine if it doesn't fit into the neat little box that the world tells us that we should look at. And timeline therapy is a part of that. So I'm going to be sharing with you 3 different ways that we can work with our timeline today. And before we do the 3 processes, I would like to give you a glimpse into how our minds work. So we've got a lot of people who say they're either coaches or therapists on the call. So I'm sure we'll get some great answers. And I'm going to go to this screen, and I want to tell you to tell me what's happening in this picture.
The man is stressed.
The man is stressed. Evil milk carton. I love that.
Yes, yes.
He's shocked that the box can talk. I also like that.
Yeah.
And this could be anything. But what I typed into ChatGPT to ask him to generate me an image of was, please give me an image of a man who has a fear of milk. So all of the answers are right, but a man who has a fear of milk. So why might a man have a fear of milk? Perhaps maybe as a child, he was chased after by a stray dog. And in the process of being chased after by a stray dog, he knocked over a carton of milk. And he kept running. His conscious mind never actually registered the milk, but his unconscious mind took everything that was occurring in that moment and said everything and anything that resembles this is dangerous. All right. So for anyone who is hearing about the conscious and the unconscious mind for the first time, let me give you a few examples. And for the people who are very familiar with it, jump into the chat and share with people your thoughts that can also build to what I'm about to say. See your conscious mind as a limited store of maybe 7 or 9 things that you can remember. For example, right in this moment, as you are listening to me, maybe your conscious mind is catching the words that I am saying. Maybe your conscious mind is looking at my face, or your conscious mind is looking at the picture. But at any given moment, we are absorbing 2 million bits of information. And where does all of the other stuff after the 7th or the 9 items that our conscious mind stores go? It goes into our unconscious. For example, if you just close your eyes for a moment, can you feel the aircon on your skin? Yeah, that's right. Can you notice the way the light is shining on your face? And again, if you close your eyes, can you hear the distant sounds of traffic, of maybe the sound of the air conditioning, maybe the murmuring in the background that you didn't notice until just now? Those are all the things that your unconscious mind is taking in. So our mind is like this infinite system that is collecting bits and pieces of information like this and storing it and categorizing it. So the man who has a fear of milk now in his 30s and his 40s and his 50s can't seem to just drink a single glass of milk, but he doesn't know why. And if anybody wants to share, if you have some sort of a habit or a pattern that's really not useful for you, and for the life of you, you're thinking with your logical mind, I don't know why this is. And I can't seem to get rid of it. Right? A habit or behavior, right? Maybe it's a fear of heights. I remember when I did a LinkedIn post for this, I used to be considered an extremely rude and mean person. I would say to people, hey, look at that. What's that on the ground? I think it's your brain. Maybe you should pick it up and put it back in your head. Right? I don't have a pen with me to show, but I remember somebody said, oh, I'm working with this client. He's so bad. He's so annoying. And then I didn't even look at him, and I held up a pen. This is a pen. All right, it's supposed to be a pen. And he said, like, what are you doing, Judy? And I said, take it. And he said, why? And I said, you give this pen to the client and you ask him to shove it up his ass. And you know what? I thought it was hilarious. And I didn't really understand why people were getting hurt along the way. And I only, through the work of timeline therapy and also through just my own self-reflection, realized that this habit of behavior I had picked up when I first moved to Australia. I struggled a lot and I got bullied in school, and I felt the need to bully the bully. I felt the need that if somebody was going to say something mean to me, I better have something meaner to say back. If somebody was going to push me, I better push him back so hard that they never come near me again. It was a defense mechanism, but it no longer was required in the day and the time when I was just trying to have a good time with my colleagues. I even had an ex-colleague say to me once, like, you know, Judy, it took me a few years to actually like you, because the first time I met you, I thought you were a total bitch. Right? And so we carry with us a lot of this baggage or a lot of these behaviors that maybe we can look back on and we can learn from, or maybe we just have no idea, such as the milk thing. And how is it that we can move forward from this? Right? People will say to you, come on, man, it's milk, just get over it. But sometimes that doesn't help. Right? Which takes me to this, which is one of my favorite quotes. Life can be understood backwards, but can only be lived forwards. And my addition to that quote is, how often do we actually look backwards to pick up on the learnings that our life has taught us? Or do we always stick to the here and now in believing that we just need somebody to tell us what to do? Glenn mentioned that I spend a lot of time in Taiwan now. And I spend a lot of time with kids. My partner runs a school, and it's quite sad for me because the kids are so conditioned, and maybe you might feel like this, right? So conditioned to be told what to do, right? You go to school, you go to this, you study this, and then you go to university. And when I ask them, like, well, what school would you like to go to? They would say to me, I'll say it in Chinese just to give it extra Taiwanese vibe, and then I'll translate it into English. And they'll literally say like, 不知道啊，就看爸妈要我去哪里上啊，就这样啊, which is, I don't know, maybe I'm just going to wait for my parents to tell me what to do. Right? And how can we take back control of our own lives and to start to learn from ourselves and to lead lives that are true to ourselves and to break away from the noise and the advice that we get from the world? Because sometimes that's where the answer truly is. And we've all been in instances where we ask a lot of people like, oh, I'm stuck in this. Can you help me with this? Can you help me with this? Can we help me with this? And at the end of it, you still feel like, nah, I don't know. I still don't know. And we just keep asking for advice. And my challenge to you is start with yourself first. Yeah. And thank you, Jermaine, for sharing. You're claustrophobic and you're not sure why. All right. Procrastination is another one. So let's take a look at what are the three processes. So the first one is what I call unconscious pattern change. So this is really useful when there is a particular pattern or behavior that you can't shake. And by you, I also mean any clients that you are working with. For example, it could be a fear of heights. It could be claustrophobia, right? It could be procrastination, which is a really great one. And instead of going through the actual line by line script, which I'm happy to share with you, anyone can email me afterwards for the script, but I would instead like to demonstrate to you how it works. So I'm going to be calling out for any volunteers. So Daphne, we can do your procrastination one if you like, and we'll run through a quick 5 to 10 minute process, which I will show you how unconscious pattern change works. So do we have any volunteers? Oh, there we go. Artie, we have a volunteer. Excellent. All right. Artie, what is the unuseful pattern that you would like to work on today?
I think procrastination is one of them, or even OCD.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Which your pick. All right. Maybe we can start with procrastination.
Yeah, okay, let's do that
let's
since
do that
it
one
was one of the questions as well.
Sorry?
Mhm. It was also one of the questions by somebody from this group as well. Yeah,
Oh,
so
excellent.
procrastination.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So let's work on procrastination. I'm going to share with you what we're going to do, and then we're going to do it. All right. In everybody's mind's eye, we have a timeline. So in a moment, I'm going to be asking you to close your eyes, not right now, but when you close your eyes, I'll be asking you to bring up your timeline. For some people, the timeline goes through them in long ways, right? For some people, the timeline is in front of them. Wherever your timeline appears, it's perfectly okay. All right. I'll then be asking you to bring up all of the instances, and this is where I want you to trace back using your feeling of when you have experienced procrastination. All right. And I'm going to ask you to bring it up like balls on the timeline, as many as there is. And I'll be asking you some questions. And the main thing is for you to invite your unconscious mind to answer. And that means whatever comes up for you is perfectly fine, right? Whether it makes sense to anybody else or not, it doesn't matter at all because this space is for you. Right? And I'm right here with you. So be brave and everything is going to be all right. You ready? Okay. All right. So I invite you to close down your eyes. And anybody else who wants to do it with RT, you can, feel free. Just close down your eyes. I'm going to take a few simple breaths, just in and out through your nose and exhale through your mouth. And as you settle into your space, I invite you to bring up your timeline, a line that extends far into the distant future and far into the distant past. And once you can see your timeline, I'll ask you to gently nod your head so I know that you can see it. Yeah? Was that a gentle head nod? Yeah, that's right. And as you look back into your past, I'm going to invite you to bring up all of the instances tracing through your feelings of procrastination and just have them come up like little balls on that timeline. There you go. That's right. You see them all the way into the distant past. Now, floating above your timeline, I want you to float all the way back to the very first dot. There you go. And once you're back at the very first dot, I want you to look back even further. Are there any more dots in there? There are? Excellent. Now I want you to sink into that dot, back into that very first experience of procrastination. Feeling what you feel, hearing what you hear, seeing what you saw back then. Yeah. What do you see and hear and feel from here?
I talk.
You talk.
I hear that I had waited and waited and hoped for some things to happen better. It took a very long time, and yet nothing happened.
Yeah. You had waited and
I
waited.
would relate as procrastinating because I guess I had faith that I would be led and did not depend on myself.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when I did take the initiative after 13 years of marriage, that is when I was able to have my own child, which took 14 years to be born.
Wow.
So I thought that was a big procrastination on my part.
Yeah. And what do you know now that you didn't know back then?
I know now that I have to depend on myself. I have to be self-reliant, independent, which circumstances and life has taught me. I'm not bitter, I'm better. That is for sure. I do have my moments. I still procrastinate on certain important things, which I feel one has to do at our age, because we don't know. We could wake up tomorrow or we don't. So that part is still, I'm procrastinating. That tomorrow never comes. And I want it to come soon.
Yeah. Artie, I'm going to ask you to give yourself a gift of resource of any type. It can be tangible or intangible, a feeling or a thought. What would you like to give that old you?
What would I like to give my old you?
Yeah, that old you.
I would like to give that old you a pat on the back because maybe later, better late than never, I was able to see that it's high time that I do things on my own.
Wow.
I mean, that it taught me that.
Wow. And what would you like to say to that old you?
I wouldn't want to be that old you.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to be that old you.
No.
Right.
Too giving, too believing, too trusting, too naive, too obedient.
Mm.
I'm not disobedient now. I'm a bit more assertive.
Yeah, I love that. And with that,
People call me BITCH
oh,
because I'm very
own it.
vocal. It's okay. I love it.
Yeah, yeah. I sense a lot of power in what you say. And with that, I want you to float up, knowing what you know now, keeping and storing all the learns that you've had from that experience. And once more, float above that dot, that very first dot. And in your mind's eye, I want you to pull out the most powerful vacuum cleaner that you've ever seen in history, way more powerful than any Dyson. And I want you to soak up all of the little dots on that timeline as quick as you can, all the way back to the present moment. That feels good. That's right. And once you have cleaned up every single dot on that timeline, I want you to see a furnace, a giant fire in front of you, and I want you to throw that vacuum cleaner into that furnace, feeling as every single dot burns away. That's right. And once you know that you have stored the learnings, you can slowly come back to the present moment and open your eyes.
Thank you. I loved it.
Wow. How do you feel now, Artie?
I feel very good. Yeah, I do.
Yeah. And when you think now about that old pattern of procrastination,
Yes.
what does that feel like now?
I don't want to think on that. I would just chuck it aside
It's gone.
because we lose in the end by procrastinating.
Yeah.
Tomorrow never comes.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much, Artie. And for everyone else that was able to benefit and learn from that, you can share your thanks with her in the chat or through a clap as well. So that's unconscious pattern change. All right. Thank you from Daphne as well, who had procrastination in there. On this slide, I'm going to show you some very simple steps of what I went through. But as I said, I'm very happy to share the script with you later on. So bringing up your timeline, tracing back, and it's really important here that you're following the emotion. You're not following your thought. Remember, unconscious is not just the things that you're thinking about. Drop into that earliest ball, getting them to experience what they did at that point, giving them a gift or a resource, letting them speak to themselves back in the past, and then coming back up and cleaning out that timeline back to the present moment. All right. And you can test how they're feeling afterwards. And this is what we call testing and future pacing. The next one is what we call clearing anxiety, worry, and fears. I'm going to talk you through this one. I love this one. This is great for, there was the claustrophobia one, great for people who have a fear of spiders or fear of something that they can't really understand. And usually, an anxiety is about something that is happening in the future. So we went back in time. Now we're going to go forward in time. So say, for example, somebody has a fear of spiders. What we will invite them to do is, I want you to imagine that you're sitting in a theater. And in that theater, you are sitting watching the theater. So you're not part of the movie, you're the person that is watching the movie. And as the movie starts, you see two big, great doors. And as those big, great doors open, and you have pre-frame and say, I'm right here with you, be brave, you're going to be okay. You know that as these big doors open, there are another set of big doors that exits the room that you're about to see. All right, so you know that there is an exit before that door opens. And as that door opens, you see a room full of spiders. Now it's scary, but you know what? You can already see that open door right at the end of the corridor. And as you bravely walk through, you know that you're going to get through this room and out the other door. And get them to walk through that in their mind's eye. And when they do, we say, okay, great. Now we're going to rewind that film all the way back, and then those two big doors shut. And this time, when the doors open, they're not just normal spiders, they're cartoon spiders. So they're bright and they're colorful, right? And then they're kind of laughing at you, all right? And you're laughing at them. And again, you're going to walk through that door again towards the exit. But this time, it's much less scary. And once you exit, again, you can rewind all the way back. The great big doors close. And the final time is when those doors open, the spiders are now balloon spiders. And there's funny cartoon music like, right? And as you're walking through it, you are changing your experience with spiders. Your association with spiders is now of humor, is now of laughter. And now, as you walk through those great big doors, and again, you can rewind all the way back, and you're now standing in front of those doors once more. And you're going to step up to that screen, and you will be merging with that person that you've been watching the movie of to date. So this is an example of moving forward in your timeline, right? Where you can go past the scary event, go past what it is that people are fearing, and allow them to reflect and learn from it and say, hey, you know what? Everything's going to be okay. All right. And finally, I know that we had someone who was keen to do a volunteer for this, but Glenn, I don't know if we have enough time.
We're good to go.
We're good to go? Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
let's do it.
Yeah, okay, we're going to do it. I'm going to invite Jesslyn. If Jesslyn wants to do this. This is another one that I use quite often, which is what I call learning from the future you. It is also about moving forward in your timeline, but moving forward to a future version of you that has achieved the things that you want to achieve. So Jesslyn, is Jesslyn here?
Yes.
Yep, Jesslyn's there. So Jesslyn, what was the thing that you wanted to achieve in the future?
To have more confidence in doing anything.
To have more confidence in doing anything. Yeah, that's beautiful, right? And in this instance, I want you to step into a room where the future Jesslyn, maybe we call it 2030 Jesslyn, is giving a speech. She's giving a speech because she's confident. And she's actually giving a speech teaching other people how to be confident. And as you see her on that stage, giving that speech about confidence, what do you feel? What do you see?
Don't keep looking at the past.
Don't keep looking at the past. Yeah. What else does she say?
Things like it's not going to happen. like what had happened in the past. People will not tease at you. Like what happened when you're in a child.
Yeah. You're not a child anymore,
Nope.
and it won't be like that anymore. It's beautiful. I want you to walk closer to her, closer to the stage where that Jesslyn is talking. And as you walk closer to her, she sees you. What does she want you to know?
Don't give up so easily. Keep trying. It's okay to fall, but remember to stand up again.
Yeah, it's okay to fall. Just remember to stand up again. I want you to give the future Jesslyn a big hug. I want you to thank her for sharing with you her knowledge and her wisdom, knowing that that is you. Right? And taking all of that learning with you, I want you to come back to now. How do you feel hearing what the future Jesslyn had to say to you?
Right now, I am actually lost somewhere. And then losing my way, don't know where to go.
Yeah.
And then I like struggling with wanting to give up.
Yeah. But it's okay to fall as long as you get back up again. Thank you so much, Jesslyn, for your bravery and your courage today.
Thank you.
Right.
Thank you.
That was beautiful. All right. I want to leave you with one last statement, which is maybe we don't need Doctor Strange after all. Maybe instead of having a time stone that will take us to different places, what we need to come back to is the compass of our own hearts. Maybe what is missing is not that we're not getting enough advice from people, but is that we're not listening enough to our own wisdom. Thank you for sharing your energy, your heart space, and your head space with me tonight. Over to you, Glenn.
Wow, thank you so much. Strangely, I feel like Doctor Strange. I've been led on a time trail, and this whole exercise got me really into reflecting on my own, and I'm sure with every one of you as well. Thank you so much. We've got some announcements, quick one, couple of minutes, we'll wrap things up. We are relaunching our neuro-linguistics programming. This is our practitioner certification, is accreditation to the global gold standard. ABNLP, the American Board of Neuro-Linguistic Programming. You'll get that license, and it's run under our breakthrough brand called Breakthrough NLP. Our next run of 5 days training, which is the shortest accelerated learning you have out there, is in February, straight after Chinese New Year. I think it's the second week of February. Here's the link. Here's the QR code. And I want to say that NLP, because of our association with the American Board of NLP, it does boost your credentials because you can actually put that license or that accreditation in your name card. And lastly, as always, we want to offer complimentary psychotherapy or counseling, at least for the first consultation, to those of you who need help. I mean, obviously, this subject interests you. MindMatters, every other month you come in. We want to help you. This is our give back and our social contribution as well. So we've got a link here. You can see one of our therapists. Typically, I will be the one that does the screening. Yeah, there will be a questionnaire. So it's a very quick process. It's very discreet. And we love to see you and see how we can help you, especially at the start of this year. Okay.